This video is brought to you by Sailrite. Visit Sailrite.com for all your project supplies, tools, and instructions. In this video tutorial, we'll show you all the steps required to reupholster an Ottoman. This old cover is worn out and needs to be replaced. We will spruce it up with a great decorative fabric from Sailrite. Cindy is going to show us how it's done. To reupholster this Ottoman, first take some measurements. Measure the top and the sides. Our Ottoman is perfectly square, so we will need only to measure one side. Write those measurements down on paper. Since our Ottoman is square, we will cut a top plate and two side or boxing pieces. The two sides will be seamed together. Then the top will be sewn to the sides. Before we show that, we need to cut the pieces to the correct cut size. To cut the top plate to size, add a 1/2 inch to all four sides of the measurement you just took. Our top plate will be cut to 16 inches square. To make the four sides of the Ottoman, we will add two of the sides together along the length to make one panel to cover two sides of the Ottoman. Our length measurement was 15 inches. Add another side, which is 15 inches again, and we get 30 inches. To that, we need to add 1 inch for seam allowance, so we will cut two side panels, we will call side A and side B, 31 inches in length. For the height, we will add 2 inches, and this will accommodate for our seam and give us extra fabric at the bottom to staple to the bottom of the Ottoman. If your Ottoman is not square, as ours is, you can still use these calculations and construct it in the same manner as we will show. And if your Ottoman is a large rectangular shape and cloth usage does not allow for two side panels to be joined together, 4 separate panels can be made and joined together using a 1/2 inch seam along each edge. It's time to cut the panels to make the cover. You will notice that Cindy is not striking lines on the fabric. Why? Because she's using the pattern of the fabric and cutting along that to keep the lines straight. This is one of the side panels. It needs to be duplicated, so she will use it to pattern the second. We are using a Top.min fabric from Sailrite. Many decorative fabrics have a selvage edge which must be cut off. This fabric has a right side and a wrong side. Cindy inserts a pin at the bottom edge of the fabric on the right side of the fabric to keep from sewing them together incorrectly. Next, she will cut the top plate. This Ottoman has a button form attached at the center. We will cut it off by lifting it up and cutting the twine or ribbon. Then flip it over and unscrew any feet. Using a staple remover, this is called a tack and staple remover, available at Sailrite, start pulling out the staples attaching the dust cover, often called cambric. A pair of needle nose pliers can be helpful also. Once the dust cover is removed, remove the staples attaching the cover fabric to the Ottoman. If the fabric pulls off without having to remove staples, that's okay. Just pull any staples still sticking up, or use a hammer and pound down any that may stand proud. This is the ribbon, or often twine, that attached the button form. Remove it also. Now the cover is free to be removed. Pull it off. This Ottoman has some scrap fabric at the edges of the top. Those may have been used to help pull the fabric cover over the foam more easily. We will not be reusing those. The two side panels will be flipped so the inside or right side surfaces are facing each other. Then a 1/2 inch seam will be sewn down each side, joining the panels together to form a box. If your Ottoman was too large, you may have had to create 4 separate sides. Sew them together just as we are doing here. Notice that Cindy does some reversing to lock the stitch in place at the beginning, and she will also do that at the end of the sewing. Be sure the sides are lined up perfectly as you sew. A hint: If this is one of your first sewing projects, you may want to pin the sides together to hold them in place while sewing. We are using a Sailrite ultra-feed sewing machine. This is the LS1. It's a great heavy-duty sewing machine with a walking foot, but as you can see, it too will handle lighter sewing projects like this very well. We are also using an upholstery thread, V69 nylon, and a size number 16 needle. The stitch length should be set to about 5 to 4 millimeters in length. We have chosen to create a semi-flat felled seam, which means we will fold the seam to one side and sew a top stitch, which will be visible on the outside of the cover. Ensure that the seam that was folded back is the side that will be sewn through. Sew about an 1/8 inch away from the first stitch line. Notice that as she sews, she splays the fabric apart, keeping the fold right on the first stitch. That top stitch should be done for each seam. Here she's starting the second. This type of project can easily be done using a home sewing machine, but if you need a heavy-duty sewing machine with a walking foot, the ultra-feed from Sailrite is a great option. Once the sides are all sewn together, it's time to test the cover before installing the top plate. Looks like it will be a perfect fit, nice and tight, but not so tight that it can't be pulled over the foam. Now we can take it off and install the top. To make this job easier, Cindy will explain how pins can be used to secure the top at just the right spot. Here's Cindy.
So this is 30 1/4, so I'm just going to go a little bit more than 15. Because I like a little bit more measurements. So I'm going to put one there. And I'm also going to put one on the other side. In the same spot, and that marks my corner. So here I will use a few pins just because other people probably would at the corner.
Notice that at each corner or pin location, she offsets the top a 1/2 inch and pins the fabric.
And there's my pin at the corner. When I sew it, I will need to clip it in order for it to go around the corner. And there's my seam. And there's the pin. So now it's all sewn on 4 corners.
Take the assembly to the sewing machine and start sewing, not at a corner, but somewhere in between a corner. We will sew a 1/2 inch from the raw edge of the fabric assemblies. Before she starts sewing, she will make a slit at the corner on the side panel. This slit should not go too deep. It needs to be less than a 1/2 inch deep. This small slit will help the panel make the turn that is required at the corner. It will allow the fabric to relax. And notice that Cindy is rotating the balance wheel of the sewing machine by hand so she has full control upon reaching the corner. She wants the needle to be exactly a 1/2 inch away from the other edge at the corner, and the needle should also be buried in the fabric at that location. When rotating the fabric to sew the adjacent side, she lifted the presser foot and turned the fabric. She also removed some pins at that location. Then the presser foot will be lowered and she will sew on, up to the next corner, and then repeat the process. Take note also that the edges of the fabric are carefully lined up as she sews them together. Here she has reached another corner. It is not uncommon that sometimes panels will not match up exactly, like here at the last corner. Notice the fabric on top has slightly too much fabric to match the corner. So she will push the top layer of fabric in towards the presser foot as she sews to in effect shrink up the fabric. And here we reach the beginning point. We will now sew a top stitch, just like we did before for the sides.
What I'm going to do is push that seam out away from the top of the ottoman.
If you could not hear what Cindy said, she said she will push the seam away from the top of the ottoman. So the top stitch is being sewn onto the sides and not the top. We are sewing through the 1/2 inch seam on the underside of the fabric. The outside or right side of the fabric is facing up. As mentioned earlier, be sure to splay the fabric apart as the top stitch is being sewn. Upon reaching a corner, bury the needle and lift the presser foot. Then rotate the fabric, lower the presser foot, and continue to sew down the other side. All the pins can be removed. Turn the cover right side out and slide it over the ottoman. Be sure the corners of the cover are lined up with the corners of the ottoman. We're showing this part in double time. A perfect fit. Only a few more steps and it will be done. Coming up next, we'll staple the cover to the underside. We're going to use the EZE TC08 staple gun from Sailrite. Notice that Cindy installs staples on one side, then immediately switches to the opposite side. We will show this in double time. This pneumatic gun is inexpensive, but it's not required. You could use a heavy-duty hand-operated staple gun like the Aero T50 brand that you find at your local hardware store. As Cindy comes to the corner, she tries to keep the hole that the feet were screwed into exposed, so she knows where to rescrew the feet in place. Just create a pleasing fold at the corner. She will then take scissors and cut out the fabric over the screw hole, exposing the hole. Let's talk more about the EZE TC08 staple gun. It's a pneumatic gun and shoots a large 1/2 inch crown staple, especially good for vinyl fabric applications because the larger than standard crown size staple rarely pulls through the vinyl fabric. We're going to use snap-together button forms to dress up the ottoman. Cut the fabric of your choice to size, making it larger than the button form, as shown in the video. Then roll the edges of the fabric over until it sticks to the little teeth on the button form. This process can be time-consuming if you've never done it before. The larger the button form, the easier it is to complete this task. We're not going to cut any film away here, so you can see the average time it takes.
Not good for your nails at all.
Notice that Cindy is pushing the fabric under the teeth with her fingernail. Once in place, position the back cover over the button as shown, and then press the sides until you hear it click into place. It may take a few clicks before the back is set in place. Pressing very hard is required. To install the button form, just find the center of the Ottoman and stick a pin at that location. Using a long straight needle, stick it through at that center location. From the underside, see if you can grab the needle. Our hole is too small for us to grab, so we will either use a longer needle or just make the hole larger so our hand can fit up into it. Here we are using a large hole saw and a drill. And now we're playing doctor with the vacuum to extract the wood circle. Now the needle can be reached. Using a strong twine, measure out the distance required by running it down the side of the Ottoman twice and add about 24 inches.
Does that make sense what I just did?
Yep. Then run it through the button's eye, placing the center of the length of twine at the eye of the button. Then run the two twine ends through the eye of the needle, finding the center of its length yet again. Flip the Ottoman over so access to the bottom is achieved and grab the needle and pull it through. As it is pulled, be careful to avoid the twine from exiting the eye of the needle and ensure that the button looks good and the twine pulls the button snug. Once the twine can be grabbed, it can be removed from the eye of the needle. Pull the twine until you're happy with the look of the button on the top of the Ottoman. Then staple the twine in place as shown. The last step is to install the dust cover or cambric and screw on the feet. Using the old cambric as a pattern, we will cut out the new dust cover slightly larger. Place it over the bottom and create a single hem along one edge and staple in place near the center. Cindy marks the location for the screw hole with a pin so we can screw the feet through the same hole. Follow this procedure all around the Ottoman's bottom side. Remove the pins at the corners and screw in the feet. Cindy likes to cut the dust cover slightly to allow easy passage of the screw. Our Ottoman reupholstery job is now complete. Coming up next is the materials lists and tools that we used in this video. You will find thousands of great upholstery and decorative fabrics at www.sailrite.com. Pick yours today. For more free videos like this, be sure to check out the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel. It's your loyal patronage to Sailrite that makes these free videos available. Thanks for your loyal support. I'm Eric Grant, and from all of us here at Sailrite, thanks for watching.